Call the meeting to order and ask you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Tonight's consent agenda consists of the following items, but we did remove one, and that is item, looks like D, and we'll move it to the under new business, and we'll cover it at that point. So the first item on the consent agenda tonight is Resolution R-2308, scheduling a public hearing for Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023, regarding the approval of a tax abatement resolution for the purpose of assisting CK Realty Group, LLC. Item B, schedule a regular special city council meeting for Tuesday, April 18th, starting at 1:15 for the purpose of conducting final interviews for the city administrator position, with the work session and regular meeting agenda to follow at 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. Item C, authorize the mayor to execute the annual letter of adjustment with an increase of 6.4% to the operation and maintenance agreement with the People Service Incorporated, effective May 1st, 2023, for operations and maintenance at the wastewater treatment facility. Item E, approve the McLeod County Large Assembly permit for Holy Trinity's Woodstock Country Music Festival on June 15, 16, 17, and 18 of this year. Item F, adopt Resolution R-23-09 to accept donations from various donors in the amount of $200 to be dedicated towards the 2023 Winston Police Department Bike Rodeo event. Item G, approve a dance permit for the Blue Note Ballroom, 320 3rd Street South, for the Woodstock Rumble event on Saturday, April 22nd. Item H, appoint Mr. Daniel Moonen to the position of full-time police officer with the Winston Police Department at grade 7, step 5 of the 2023 comp plan. Item I, approve the claims list for April 4th. Item J, approve a conditional offer of employment and authorize the interim city administrator to execute an employment agreement with Mr. Lucas Pettiera for the position of full-time police officer with the Winston Police Department, contingent upon passing a criminal background check, psychological exam, drug and alcohol test, and the Peace Officer Standards Board test to become license eligible. Item K, accept the voluntary resignation of Mr. Tyler Nelson from the Winston Volunteer Fire Department, effective April 4th. And I think I have to go back and ask a motion from the council to remove that item to the agenda under new business.
You want it right now?
Yeah.
A motion to remove item D from the consent agenda? And do you need the rest to
Place on the underneath new.
Place it on the new,
place it under new business, and then do you want me to read
no.
When we
we'll
get
do-
there.
when we get there? Okay. I'd make that motion to remove it from the consent agenda and place it under.
We have a motion by Jeff. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now I'm looking,
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
we have a motion.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under new business, sanitary sewer system cleaning. Adam, you want to talk us through that?
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. First off, I need to apologize a little bit. Typically, when we present this action every year, we include some mapping to show where the work is going to get done. But I see that that is not included in this agenda, so I will try to meander through that the best I can. But since 2017, City Council has been budgeting and contracting out the activity of sanitary sewer cleaning within the city of Winsted. Our goal is to budget for and to clean approximately between 25% to 33% of the sanitary sewer lines within the city of Winsted. That way everything is clean once every 3 to 4 years. That meets best practices as recommended by the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust. The activity of cleaning these sanitary sewer lines, helps limit or prevent sewer backups within the sewer system, and obviously our liability associated with that, or potential liability associated with that. Currently, we have just under 80,000 feet of sanitary sewer lines, including 325 manholes, 6 lift stations. This year, we are proposing to clean approximately 16,000 feet, as well as televising that same amount of footage. The televising after cleaning helps us determine, A, ensure that the lines are cleaned properly, and then B, it provides data to our engineering service regarding the conditions of the line, if there's reason for concern within those areas or those lines, whether there's a bad joint or whether there's root issues, whether there's intrusions from borings, etc. So again, it helps us plan our improvements accordingly, and we put that data here on the GIS system, which is up on the screen. So again, we do have a city-controlled GIS system with all of our infrastructure data implemented onto it. Everything in green is the sanitary sewer lines. The round circles are the manholes. The yellow boxes are the lift stations. So again, we use this data to work through our cleaning and maintenance of the sanitary sewer lines, and also B, plan for new projects and redeveloping the lines as needed as part of street reconstruction projects. So with that being said, the Public Works Department did solicit quotes from 3 different contractors to do this work, being American Environmental LLC, HydroClean LLC, Ritter and Ritter Incorporated. American Environmental is the low quote here in 2023, and the Public Works Department is recommending moving forward with American Environmental at a cost of $16,933 for the cleaning, and an additional $8,091 for the televising. That is within our budget amount of $25,100. I think is what our budgeted amount was for that activity here in, we budgeted $20,000 here in 2023, so we are slightly over budget. So that overage would come out of the sanitary sewer fund, which we have done in the past. There's sufficient fund balance to cover that overage. This is a bit difficult to budget for because those costs vary from year to year, and the amount of footage needed sometimes varies based on the conditions of the lines. With that being said, is there any questions for me this evening regarding this request from the Public Works Department?
I just have one. Sewer line that runs through the Feking property,
Yes.
has that been cleaned in any, like, you can recall?
My understanding is that it has been, yes.
It has been?
That's a pretty large line, so it's not as likely to back up as a 6-inch line or an 8-inch line. I believe that's 10 to 12-inch line, because again, that's carrying all the sewer from Winston to the lake, all the sewage. Prior to 2017, the city of Winston did conduct this activity with its own staff, but with the lack of equipment, the lack of appropriate equipment to do this activity, that's why they decided to start contracting it out. The cost of the appropriate equipment to do this operation would likely run about $250,000, besides the knowledge base, etc. So that's why the city decided to go this route instead at that time.
And after each time we go through this process, we update our GPS?
We should be updating our records to reflect what's being cleaned annually, yes.
Anybody else have any questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to authorize interim city administrator to execute a quote with American Environmental LLC for sanitary sewer cleaning in the amount of $16,933, with the option for televising in the amount of $8,000 $91.50 for an amount not to exceed $25,100.
We have a motion by Tony. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is the annual tree trimming plan approval and agreement. Adam?
So again, this is somewhat similar to the sanitary sewer cleaning activity where in 2017, the city council decided to move forward with contracting this maintenance activity out with the idea that the city staff didn't have the appropriate safety equipment to do boulevard tree trimming. In its understanding, it's more than just chainsaws and safety equipment associated with chaps and gloves and that kind of stuff. It's when we get into bucket trucks in certain elevations and meeting those safety requirements where the city council decided to limit their liability associated with that and contract out this activity. Tree trimming, similar to sanitary sewer cleaning, we tried to break the community up into 4 or 5 quadrants and do the boulevard tree trimming in those areas, on an annual basis, rotating throughout the community. This year, it looks like we have budgeted $10,000, I believe, $14,000 tree trimming, and our quote from Solberg's Tree Service is for $6,100. If I'm reading this correct. Looks like he'll be scheduled to be trimming 221 boulevard trees in the locations of First Street North, First Street South, Lewis Avenue West, Lewis Avenue East, 3rd Street North, to Cloud Avenue. So I apologize if this isn't mapped out. In the past, I've always mapped this out. When this agenda was being put together, my availability is limited in that. So we don't have a mapping on this location versus where it compares to the previous years. But I have to assume that our public works staff has got that all recorded and is on schedule with that. Mr. Solberg has done this activity for the city of Winsted for at least 3 years, and it might be 4 years. He's been very efficient with his activity. We've been very satisfied with his work. He's done a good job, and he's done it at a very reasonable price. He was previously a resident of Winsted. I believe he still is. Again, not. Okay. Again, the Public Works Department is recommending City Council approve this quote this evening. That being said, is there any questions for me tonight on this item?
Any discussion? If not, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to consider authorizing the interim city administrator to execute the agreement with Solberg Tree Service for tree trimming and brush removal in the city of Winsted 2023 for an amount not to exceed $6,400 or $6,100.
Well, his quote says 6,100, but I think they gave, they had some breathing room in case there's some additional work can be done, so that's where they got the
Or
$6,400.
$6,400.
We have a motion by Jesse. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll get to the one we moved off the consent agenda, reinstatement of the new home construction program.
Yep.
Yes, it is. So Adam, you want to take that one?
Sure. So again, this is a re-implementation of a previous program that the city of Winsted had implemented in the years of 2018, 2019, 2020, and I believe 2021. We ran this program where the city of Winsted would delay the charging of the city sanitary sewer and water connections for new construction. They delay that cost until the home received a certificate of occupancy. And they also limited the cost of the building permit to a max of $2,000. This program is designed to incentivize new home construction here in Winsted. The reason that the city, or the EDA, the Winsted Economic Development Authority, has the appetite to recommend reimplementation of this program is through our housing study that was commissioned by the EDA in the city of Winsted. We show a significant need for multiple housing types. We have received some application for high-density housing, and this incentive would target single-family residential as well as townhome construction. So again, trying to meet those different needs of the community and incentivize developers to take on these type of projects. The EDA is recommending, again, reimplementation of this program with a limit of 7 applications for 2023. Their current proposal includes limiting a max number of applications to two individuals or 2 entities. But that's certainly up to the city council to look at these program guidelines and make any adjustments as they see fit. With that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions associated with this recommendation this evening.
No questions?
I would like to recommend that we change the wording so that it's not limited to 2 per applicant. That if somebody were to come and say they wanted to build 7 houses, we could give that individual all 7 incentives.
I think that's going to be done.
Any other comments or concerns?
And I do want to clarify, sorry to cut or interrupt you, Jeff. This application process goes along with the building permit application process, so that's when this is awarded. You know, it's not awarded prior to a building permit submittal.
If there's no other questions, I'm looking for a motion.
And make a motion to approve the 2023 new home construction program to include an amendment to the proposed City of Winston new home construction program guidelines, Section 3, project eligibility, 3.3, to read maximum number for 2023. The maximum number of housing units to be served by this program shall be 7. Eligible applications shall be approved on a first-come, first-served basis, and authorize city staff to begin accepting applications on April 10th, 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We've come to the department report tonight, and that's Winston Police Department. Justin?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me. Like in the past, when I do my report, my quarterly report, I hit on things outside of our calls that we respond to, traffic enforcement, stuff like that we do on the day-to-day. I don't necessarily talk about that or specific incidents. It's more of the things we do outside of what we do routinely. The last time I did report to the city council would have been November 15th of last year, 2022. Since then, I personally, with other members of the staff, attended the Chamber of Commerce luncheon that was held downstairs at City Hall. We held annual reviews for our full-time officers in November. Officers attended night adverse weather weapons qualifications. So any weapon we carry, whether it be a shotgun, rifle, handgun, off-duty handgun, we have to qualify both in adverse weather conditions at night, during the day, and in November is usually one of our night shoots. And believe me, it is adverse weather as well with the temperature. But it's good training. We do it at Gopher Campfire. If you're familiar with that, north of Hutchinson, it's a great facility. Our officers are members there. We continued in November advertising for a full-time officer vacancy. December, officers attended annual training with the McLeod County Sheriff's Office. So for a number of years, we have done our defensive tactics, which is our use of force. So that's your takedowns, your escorts, handcuffing, baton, taser, OC spray. That's like, we call it OC, but it's like a pepper spray. Less than lethal beanbag rounds is what we carry in our shotgun. So that's a lot of words to say that's the training we attend with the Sheriff's Office. We do just about all of our training exactly the way the Sheriff's Office does, and a lot of the agencies in the county do that. And the reason for that is we work hand in hand with them all the time. So it just makes sense that we're using the same firearms, the same equipment, we're trained the same. We did last year, Officer Anderson, she did attend DT instructor training as well as OC instructor training. She did put on a training last fall for the department, and this year she'll be putting on a training for the department. And it is nice having our own instructor. A couple reasons. We can have the trainings when we would like to. We don't have to wait for them to be put on. And there is a cost savings to having our own instructor as well. In the past, we have had instructors for firearms as well, and hopefully in the near future, we'll again have a firearms instructor with the department. Officer Lammers in December attended critical incident de-escalation, racial profiling, and mental health training through the BCA. If you're not aware, a couple years ago, a new mandated training requirements for us to be peace officers licensed. Every 3 years, we have to attend specific training in de-escalation, critical incident, racial profiling, autism, and Officer Anderson and myself 2 years ago attended that. Officer Lammers went in 2022. We are going to plan on hosting that training. The BCA does here at City Hall. We had planned on doing that last year, but what ended up happening is we didn't have enough people sign up for the class. So we have such a nice facility here. We do want to start offering the facility for those trainings. I participated in the Accident Review and Safety Committee meeting through the Administration Department. January, attended the goal setting retreat. And I just wanted to note here, so this 2 years prior, up until January 16th, we had a joint powers agreement with the city of Lester Prairie. Originally, it started out with weekends where if a Winston officer was working a scheduled shift, they would be also covering emergency calls for the city of Lester Prairie at that time. And then the next weekend, Lester Prairie would have an officer working a shift, and then they would be covering emergency calls for Winston. And it was really working out quite well because the night officer was able to sleep rather than be on call. And then last year for 2022, we included holidays and weekends not holidays and weekends, holidays with the weekends. So that's another 11, 12 days of the year that were covered rather than being on call. On January 16th, we ended that joint powers agreement with Lester Prairie due to our staffing levels. We couldn't satisfy that requirement. There is a hope in the future that when we do come back up to full staff that we could revisit that. The city council could decide if they'd like to go forward with that again. Also, I don't hit on a lot of it. Well, I don't talk about incidents when I do these reports, but on January 23rd, we had an incident in town that you're all aware of. I just wanted to note two things. A thank you to the agencies that did help us in that incident. And just as important to me and to the city is our residents' cooperation during that time. It was, the residents did everything we asked them to do. We understand the inconvenience the situation posed, but I would just like to thank our residents for that. February, officers attended quarterly medical training with the fire department. We attend that 3 times a year. Again, we train with the fire department for our medical training. So myself and Officer Lammers are EMTs. Officer Anderson is a EMR, which is a first responder. And there's EMTs on the fire department and they're emergency responders as well. But that joint training is so valuable, and we do drills with the fire department too. It's such a benefit for both departments, I believe, to train together. I participated in our second biennial body camera audit. So we have to have an audit every 2 years per state statute to have body cameras. Lynn Lipke is her name. She did our audit this year again. I believe the city administration department had sent you a copy of the report of the body camera. If you have not received that, please let me know and I can get that to you. I also held a pursuit review. So anytime we have a pursuit, we have to review the pursuit. When we sit down with the officers involved, we watch the video of the pursuit, talk about what we, could do better. It's a coaching, if need be, time. March, officers attended a night firearms qualification shoot. We held interviews for full-time police officers, extended conditional offers to 2 applicants and 1 part-time officer applicant. Attended EMS planning meeting with the Gardens of Winston, which is now owned by Monarch, I believe is the name. We got some good ideas going there. Did a walkthrough with the fire department. Assisted Knights of Columbus with their fish fry at the Blue Note. Officers participated in radio training through the sheriff's office. And I just wanted to show you, we just started carrying them last week, but these are the new radios we got. Some of you may be aware, those that do not know, these were actually received. So we had been planning for years to purchase new radios on our own, and the county thankfully helped us where they purchased these radios and gave them to us to use. We have to pay for any upkeep or replacement or batteries, but it's a considerable amount of money they cost, but we are using them now. We are planning on installing the ones in our squad cars in the next couple weeks.
How do they work?
So far, so good. Yep, they work really good. Battery life is always a big thing, and our old radios, you couldn't get through a shift without having to change your batteries, so they're working really well. And the last thing I have on my list that I've been working on is drafted a THC edibles ordinance. If you remember, I believe it's August. I'd have to check with Raquel. The city council passed a moratorium on edibles, THC, because the state, if you recall, has allowed within limits, the sale of that. So the city council passed a moratorium for 1 year. So I've drafted a ordinance for that. And at the city administration level, we're going to be meeting to discuss having legal review and then bring it to the council for decisions on how you like that to look, if that's a route you'd like to go. You should also have our 2022 activity totals, police department report. Just a couple things I'll note on there, as I do every year. I won't hit on everything, but just a couple items. We had 19 accidents reported to us last year. 22 we had in 2021, so it usually ranges from that 17 to 25 range. That doesn't include your vehicles in the ditch, generally. We had 2 DWIs, 2 DWI arrests in 2022, 4 in 2021. I don't quite know what's going on there. That's not many at all, which isn't a bad thing. But now that I've been working nights for the last 6 months, they're still in the county. They're still arresting them. The one thing I do note and that I do appreciate is we have a pretty flexible program with parking. So if downtown area, your main avenue, your First Street North, there's no parking 2 to 6 a.m. That's all year long. That's not just winter time. But if you're parking there, we generally, if you call, we're not going to be giving you a ticket. And we do see a lot of people park their vehicle and get rides. I think that's a big thing. It works out great, and we encourage that. So no complaints on my side on that. We had 13 dog complaints. You'll notice that that was all of 2022, 13. In 2021, we had 36. So I think a couple dogs might have relocated. We had 29 physical arrests, so that's when people are getting handcuffs placed on them and taken to jail. That's similar to 2021. That is not chargeable offenses or formal complaints. So since this has been going on longer than I've been in this profession, but more and more we get called to a call and we investigate it and we take statements, take photographs, collect evidence, and then we complete our case and we send it to an attorney for review of charges. People are charged very, very frequently that way, and they get a summons in the mail and a court date. That's called a formal complaint. The vast majority of our action and our investigations turn into formal complaint. It's not, the days of everyone getting arrested does not happen. This is the more formal way of doing it. So just because there isn't a lot of arrests doesn't mean there's not a lot of activity. 55 citations issued in 2022. 280 warnings were issued. When you look at the graphs, you'll see that is also down. We had 28 theft-related calls in 2022, similar to 2021. One thing that did jump, and there's been a pretty steady number for a number of years, but we had 216 medicals in 2022. We do, as a police department, pride ourselves on going to medicals and doing stuff at medicals. When I say doing stuff, is providing care. Like I said, 2 of our 3 officers are EMTs. We like to provide a high level of care for our residents until the paramedics get there. I do talk a lot for the new council members. I apologize for that. So if you need me to stop.
Tom warned us.
Okay, I appreciate it. But the 216 medicals, the important part to note on that, the year prior we had a lot of medicals, and that was 165. So that's 30, it's 50 some more medicals. 28 vulnerable adult investigations. You'll see on the graph that is increasing every year. Every year we're getting more of those. Now the majority of those do not take a lot of effort on our end as a police department. Now there are a handful every year, I'd say 4 to 6, that take weeks of investigation. That's going to be your financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult.
What's the definition of a vulnerable adult?
I'd have to look for state statute to give you the exact definition,
Well,
but
your
it is
definition.
anyone that needs somebody to make decisions for them,
Okay.
whether medically, financially. Financially, that is where our work comes in. And unfortunately, in our community, we have had, every year we've had a couple that get charged out, talking upwards of over $250,000, per person, but our county attorney's office does prosecute them when we investigate them. Mental health calls are on the rise in the county. I just wanted to note, we do have handouts, flyers here. You want to come to City Hall, there's a crisis brochures. You can, no questions asked, pick up the information. If you don't want to do that, 320-864-2713. That is our crisis line in the county. I highly encourage people, they don't always want to call the cops. Understand that. You can call that number. There's going to be somebody there that answers your call. We are also always here. You call us, we will help you. Please use caution, extra caution when driving around the schools during pickup and drop-off times. Public school has altered last year, actually, sort of COVID time, they altered where the pickup is. I just ask that if you're not picking up kids, stay out of that area during the pickup and drop-off times. The parents and the schools do not need added increased traffic in that area for the safety of our children. Needle disposal is an important one. So in the entryway of our city hall, we have a medication box to the left. The left is a medication box, not the utility billing. But the left, you can put your medications in. It gets picked up by the sheriff's office, but needles do not go in there. There's nothing they can do with the needles. But on May 16th, Glencoe Regional Hospital in Glencoe, from 1 until 4, May 16th, 1 until 4, you can drop off any needles. So, diabetics a lot of times have a lot of needles. That would be a great time to bring those needles and they'll accept them. Just some upcoming events. Our winter parking ban is over. Reminder that there's a 72-hour limit for any trailers, boats, campers parking on the street. That's for a city or street maintenance reasons. Bike rodeo is going to be coming up here in May at the Winston Elementary School. We hold it every year there. A date to be determined from Officer Lammers. He puts that together. And our new officer is expected to begin here in the next couple weeks. Any questions for me?
You need any more bikes?
We would be happy to give out bikes. Yep. Generally, last 2 years we've been giving out 4 bikes, 2 to girls, 2 to boys. Typically, 2 different sizes, and we would be happy to. The goal is to have more prizes than kids.
How many usually?
Last year, I believe we were down a hair, but I want to say there was about 75. The year prior, we had the most ever. There was over 100 kids. Yep, and we give out some freezies or ice cream bars, and it really is weather dependent. If we get into the postponing it a couple times, we get out of the school year, and that's tough because what we do is we go into the schools that day, and Officer Lammers goes into the schools, and he gives a bike safety talk. And you give them, coloring books, and they get a slip where they put their name and stuff on it for the drawings.
But other than staffing, your biggest concern?
Just staffing.
Okay.
Yep. We are very fortunate, and I know you know this from living here. Our community helps us a lot. They do. They report a lot of things. They help us with investigations. A big thing is, if people see something, vehicles aren't where they belong, or people that are snooping around, they call us. They don't wait for us to get called there or have a theft occur, So I just want to encourage that. Coming up on the spring will be a big thing, and I've noticed it already. Probably I do have one thing will be blight. And I just ask that people register the motor vehicles, is a big one, clean up their trash. I get it. It's been a long winter, and we will work with you. We always do, but there's always those certain properties that, need our extra attention.
Gun permits, up or down?
The same.
Same.
Yep. I'd have to look at how many we do, but usually January, February is very busy for them, and then at the end of the year too.
Well, with the staff issues we've had, you and Officer Lammers are to be commended for the extra effort you've put in.
Thank you.
Justin, can we circle back to the radios?
Yeah.
Do you know what the cost was roughly?
The ballpark numbers were per radio, so my portable here is, I believe, $5,000 per radio.
Also, the fire department got theirs.
Correct.
Just want to let people understand, the county got ARPA funds for COVID as well as the city. The county purchased radios for the whole community, the whole county, which saved the citizens a lot of money. So that was a very good expenditure, and we're thanking them for that. The other thing I have is any updates on the police vehicle we ordered about 1.5 years ago?
Yes, nope, I have checked in twice this calendar year, or 2023, with our representative at 1040 Ford in St. Cloud. And for those that don't know, the reason we went through them actually it was early last year now when we first made the purchase, is they had the state contract. So that's why we went through them. We did order a squad. I have to look, but it was before June of last year. Everything was on track, and then they canceled, I think it was over 140 squads in the state, and ours was one of them. So we were really close to actually getting it, and they canceled it. So then we were notified that we would have to, we would not be getting a vehicle last year, but we would have, in very short order, have to submit a purchase request for a 2023 squad. So we did that. That's what you're referring to. I did reach out to our representative that we contact up there, and nothing. So what we're looking for is the VIN. Once we get that VIN number, that means they're building it in Detroit. That last one was in Detroit, so no, the answer is no.
All right.
But I'm very excited when that does come. The council last year, we are changing our graphics on our squads, and now I wasn't going to make that public until we got it, because it's going to looks really nice. So that squad will have the new graphics.
Is it a Ford?
Yes, Ford Interceptor SUV.
And an Interceptor is like an Explorer, right?
Correct.
When did they start making spotlights standard on Explorers? Because that's really slowed down my driving habits.
There's a lot of X squads out there.
Is that what it is? Because I see
Yep.
a lot of them. It's
A lot of them have hit the auctions the last couple of years.
okay.
They are a good deal. They are,
Yeah.
because they're kept up well. Not gonna. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna guarantee. Not gonna guarantee that's not a cop. No.
Right.
Any other questions for Justin? Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, Council.
We come to the open forum section of the meeting. If anybody wants to address the council, step up to the podium, name and address, and you got a couple minutes to talk to us. If not, we'll move on. City Administrator update and announcements.
I have nothing this evening.
I just have one. I want to piggyback on what Justin said about using the facilities. Next Wednesday, the Mid-Minnesota Development Commission's we're hosting them, and there's going to be between 30 and 35 people representing that from Renville County, Candy, Ojai, Meeker, and McLeod. It'll be down here, and we'll get to show off City Hall again. Anybody else have any announcements? Looking for a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Steve wants to go home. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Tom. All in favor?
Hey.
Meeting adjourned.